Hello everybody and welcome to Orms Air, the Orms podcast. Except you're not listening to the podcast. What you're listening to is a part of a full conversation that we've had. To listen to the full conversation, go wherever you listen to podcasts. All the links are in the description below. If you like what you hear, be sure to subscribe and you'll always be a part of the conversation. Okay, so Instagram had quite an influence on the visibility of this project. So when you started Painting France, with the 365 days, so in 2013, and it also helped you gain quite a following. So what has this relationship been like? Your relationship with Instagram?
It's been complicated. I think I got really lucky at the beginning to jump onto Instagram when it was still like growing really rapidly, when the algorithm hadn't kicked in and it was still chronological.
Yeah.
So people would still see things that I posted in chronological order, and I think that was the whole point of the project as well. It just worked because it was the 1st of Jan, 2nd of Jan. It worked chronologically. And then, I mean, I started out with, I don't even know how many followers, must have been like 20 or something, you know. And then people were able to book dates, so they could book the 3rd of January and then kind of suggest what I paint on that day. So they'd be excited to see what I painted, and then they'd check it out, and then they'd share it with their friend. And so it kind of grew by word of mouth. And it was just the perfect platform to share that kind of a thing on. I can't imagine it having happened anywhere else, you know. Maybe Facebook, but Facebook has so much noise, you know. So with Instagram, I could literally post the painting the size that it was, so you could see it on your phone the exact size that it was. And for about the first year, I would post only the painting. I never put an object around it for scale. And I only learned later on that people didn't realize the size.
Small they were.
So I had to start, and that's why I started using pencils. And now people always think it's a drawing when it's actually a painting, because if I used my paintbrush for scale, it wouldn't make sense because it's also tiny. So, so it was really instrumental, and I'm super grateful for the platform. It really got my work out there, and I've been able to build up a whole support base for my work. But it also really ties you to a platform that is very outcomes based, and you start thinking in terms of posting on Instagram, and it's very, very hard. You know, whenever people ask me anything about Instagram or have any anxiety around it, I just say, don't look at the numbers. Just don't look at the numbers. Keep producing your stuff and putting it out there, because if you're producing good content, you will, you know, you'll see people appreciating it.
You'll
basically
get feedback.
But it's hard when your livelihood is connected to the people that support your work, and you see, you know, the numbers drop or not getting likes or whatever. It's really hard not to have anxiety around that. So there's a lot of work that you have to do around not finding affirmation on that kind of thing. So I find it useful to take breaks and just step away from Instagram completely. It's also been, I question every day kind of what I share and why. And it's hard because I have a son. So at the beginning, I wanted to share the process of becoming a mother and being an artist at the same time, what that meant and how that changed things. But the problem is that it involves another human who is not consenting to this, you know. So I don't know if I'm overthinking it a lot, but I mean, I once posted a photo of him like covered in mud, and he'd been playing outside, and he wasn't wearing a shirt, and he's got this long, beautiful hair. And I was taken apart on Instagram, and the image was removed for being pornography.
What?
That's
ridiculous.
It was really hardcore, and it was really like gut wrenching.
I can imagine.
Because the whole, I shared it with this kind of parenting manifesto by Brene Brown, which is all about kind of raising a wholehearted human, you know. So it was a very intimate post, and I felt very kind of vulnerable posting it, and then I was just slammed for being like a terrible mother, and how could I do this to my child? And I got DMs about, you know, I don't know, pedophiles,
oh my
and
gosh.
it was just horrific. So after that, I was like, well, I'm not posting anything about my child anymore. I was so freaked out. It was horrible. So yeah, it's hard when you put yourself out there like that.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah.
But and that's also like it's an interesting space, I think, Instagram. And I think a lot of the feedback that we've gotten from guests that we've invited in who are creative and who do post their work and sort of create that space of a community online. Like that's sort of the feedback that we get. It's everybody deals with it differently, has a different relation to it.
I mean, I've met the most incredible people and had such amazing experiences on Instagram. Yeah. I can't stop going on about how much of an incredible platform it's been for me.
Yeah.
It's just a complicated relationship because you're always questioning why it is that you're doing what you're doing, what it is that you're sharing, what your message is, you know. And with having a lot of followers, I feel a lot of responsibility to not be sharing a damaging message, you know. And I have shows around the world, and when I meet the people who follow me on Instagram, they're often children, you know.
Oh wow, yeah.
So I have to be conscious of that, and I can't just be myself and, you know, whatever. Yeah, I can be myself, but, you know, I have to be careful about what I say because there are children out there. So, yeah.
You just almost always got to be thinking about...
Exactly. Yeah. The whole complicated relationship with social media, the reason why I find it so challenging to be at peace with is because I'm a sharer. So I love putting stuff out there. I love sharing knowledge or sharing my work or whatever.
Yeah.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that I like to spend hours a day, like looking at my phone, replying to every comment, replying to every DM, checking out every like, checking out everyone else's feeds and stuff like that. And I feel like there's an expectation of that, that you need to be interactive with your followers and stuff. But that takes you, so in my experience, in order to create something beautiful, you have to be present, right? You have to be present in the moment. To find inspiration, you have to be present in your life.
Yeah.
And being on your phone is the direct opposite of that.
Completely, yeah.
So when you're spending all your time trying to get back to people and replying to DMs and stuff, you're being taken out of the moment all the time.
Yeah.
And you end up just being an Instagrammer, you know what I mean? Rather than an artist. So I think for me, it's a lot about like putting the phone away. And I also try at home, like when I'm with my son, to very much leave the phone in another room. Because I don't want him to grow up with a mom that's constantly like looking at their phone and filming them and taking photos of them and whatever. So yeah, that's the contradiction that it brings, because it's almost like you can't be an artist without being on social media these days. But it also takes so much away from the artistic experience.
Yeah. To have a presence as an artist, you also need to be very much in that space. So it's sort of,
and people feel like they're entitled to a response, or you know, and I just don't think that's fair to expect.
Yeah.
You know, it's possible to be someone who likes to share things and then not to be communicating nonstop with people, you know, going back and forth on DM.
And do you think it creates an inauthentic experience if you have someone like a middleman, almost like a media manager or something along those lines? Because I suppose, I mean, that does, you know what I mean? If you are presenting yourself as a business,
I would never do that.
Really? Okay.
Personally.
Yeah.
I just feel like my Instagram is my voice.
Yeah.
You know, it's the way that I communicate with people. It's part of my tool. You know, as much as I'm trying to distance myself from it, I have to find a way to make that communication work for me. And if someone else was doing it, I don't know, it just doesn't feel authentic to me.
No,
I don't have a problem with it. I know a lot of businesses do it, and I think it's healthy. But I feel like there's something about like timing and authenticity and magic. That's why I also don't use those like pre-planned scheduling apps, because I feel like when I feel compelled to post something, that's when I post something. I feel like there's a bit of magic in that, and that's something that might speak to someone at that time, you know. I don't know. Maybe I'm just romantic, but
No, but I think it's more of an authentic space.
Yeah. And it just everything becomes so robotic, you know.
Completely.
It's like already you're inundated with ads and everything's the algorithm and whatever. So it's just getting further and further away from like a true communication where someone is like saying something at the time that they want to say it, you know. It just becomes more and more scheduled and robotic.
And I mean, and that that is what the platforms are built for. They're built to keep people in touch with each other, connected.
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, I don't know if you're over romanticizing it. I think you're sort of just staying with the original idea behind them.
Yeah, and maybe in a way falling behind, because I think people are playing the game.
Yeah.
People are like, okay, how does the algorithm work? How do we hack it? You know, people are reading articles about how to do that and stuff, and I just don't want to be spending my time doing that, honestly.
No, completely not.